Marhaba friends, would you like to install Linux on your old MacBook Pro? Yes, in my case I have a MacBook Pro from 2011 13-inch and I am going to dual boot it with Linux. Let's get started. The first thing we need to do is to boot into the recovery mode on Mac. So as you push the power button and hear the chime, press Control Command R and it will boot you into recovery mode. It will take some time, and once it has booted, we'll be presented with a screen where it says recovery. So we need to go to disk utility, and the reason why we have to prepare our disk to install Linux. In this case, I'm going to install Manjaro Linux. So once this utility loads up, we are going to go to Macintosh HD and I'm going to click on partition. As you can see, I just have Mac on this machine, no other OS. I'm going to dual boot. So to prepare it, I'm going to create a partition. I'm effectively going to resize and lessen my Mac partition. So I'm going to take it to, let's say, 100 gigs looks good. 160 is too far. I'm just going to keep it to 100 gigs. 80 gigs. Okay, so 80 gigs is all right, and the reason why is I want to isolate my Mac partition so that my Linux does not interfere with my Mac partition. So I'm going to create a partition called data. I'm going to click on apply, and as soon as I click on apply, it's going to partition it. Okay, let's partition it, and it should start. Okay, operation failed. So if you guys face this problem like I face, it says this operation couldn't proceed because the target's boot helper was mounted. I wish I can speak today. Okay, you may want to try again. So if you get this problem error, what we need to do is not boot into recovery mode, but boot into internet recovery mode. So to do that, just close this out and let's restart our machine. Now this time, as soon as you hear the chime, press Control Shift R. What am I saying? Command Shift R, and so you will be booted into internet recovery mode. And yes, this, as it says, this may take a while. It took a while. It really took a while. So I'm going to shorten it up. Zoom. All right. So we are here with Mac Mac recovery mode, internet recovery mode, and let's go to disk utility again and click on continue. And once this utility boots up, this time I'm going to create 100 gigs. I don't know, I was saying 100 gigs and I created 80 gigs, but 100 gigs should be fine for Mac, and the remaining I'm going to allocate for Manjaro Linux. So let me partition it. I have 320 gigs, so I'm saying Macintosh, you should be only for 100 gigs. I'm going to change the size in MB and say 1 and 5 zeros, 1 2 3 4 5. Click on apply, and the other partition is going to be 220 gigs or 219 gigs, and I'm going to rename that to data. So hopefully this time our partition should work, and yes, CVC, we do not have any errors. So that was the reason I showed you the error. So if you have the same error, then you need to boot into internet recovery mode, and hopefully it will be done. We are not getting errors as of now. Okay, now this will take a while because it is shrinking the live partition. I mean the live disk, the live OS on your disk. So yes, congratulations guys, no errors this time. Click on done, and let me click on partition again, and I have renamed the untitled to data. That's all. All right, now in this data partition, I'm going to create a new partition which will host my Linux operating system. All right, so let me name this Linux, and I'm going to keep that data partition in between so as to separate my Mac and my Linux OS. So that's the point. I mean, that is what you need to do. Okay, so let's click on, and I'm going to see, you can change it to exFAT or MS-DOS. I was keep it as macOS extended journal, because I know what I'm doing. The first partition will contain my Linux, sorry, my Mac, and the last partition will contain my Linux. So okay, so we have created a partition which will host our Linux. It's going to create it. All right, that's done. Now all Linux partitions need swap to. You can use a page, you can use a file swap, but I like to have my swap partition separate. So this time, and I have 8 gigs of RAM, so I'm going to give 8 gigs of partition. You can give, I mean, you can beat me with your bat saying, okay, you need 16 gigs, but I'm not going to give 16 gigs, and I'm just going to give 8 gigs. You can choose whatever you want. So I'm going to name this swap, and I'm going to say 8 gigs, and we're just going to keep it macOS external journal. That's okay, no problem at all there. And so we have now, this will host my Linux, so I'm going to rename untitled to Linux, and the other is swap. So that's it. Click on apply, and it says partition to be added Linux, partition to be resized swap. Okay, so let's click on partition. So what I have effectively done is I have kept my Mac partition. In between, I have a data partition which will be utilized by my MacBook as a separate volume. And after that, I have created a swap partition for Linux, and finally on the last, at the end of my disk, I'm creating my Linux partition. Okay, so the partitioning looks good as of now. See, Macintosh, data, and we have data, and we have swap, and we have Linux. That's it, guys. That is what you need to do. Okay, nothing very fancy, nothing very fancy. Trust me, guys, nothing very fancy to do here. All right, now that our disk partitioning is complete, we need to prepare our bootable Linux USB. So I'm going to switch over to my other machine, and you will have better visual quality. All right. All right, so this is my separate machine, and I'm on Manjaro Linux, and I'm going to open up Firefox, and we are going to browse to Manjaro Linux site, where we are going to download Manjaro. All right, yeah, I mean, yeah, here it is, and just let's download Manjaro and create a bootable USB using Balena Etcher. Okay, I went ahead of myself, so let's download it. Let's go one step at a time. So we have Manjaro XFCE, Manjaro KDE, and Manjaro GNOME. I'm going to use the fastest one I feel is XFCE. So since I have a very old machine, 2011, as I said, so let me download. 64-bit version looks good. Great, take me to download, and this should download here. Okay, now let's click on download, and now while this is downloading, I am going to go to download Balena Etcher. So let me see. Okay, now the download is complete. I waited, and now the download is complete. The next step is to get an application that will write this ISO file to your USB. So this is the application Balena Etcher. I put up a link in the description. So let's download it for Linux 64-bit. Looks good. Click on download, and it's a small download, should go relatively fast, no problems there. And now that it has almost downloaded, I'm going to plug in my USB so that it will be detected by this application, and we will write our ISO to that USB, which we will use to install it on our MacBook. All right, so this is an app image, and I cannot open an app image directly. So to install it, I go to sudo pacman -s install app image launcher. Okay, if you're on a different system, I mean, you don't have to do this. This is like an additional step that I had to do because I don't have like an app image launcher on my machine, so I had to launch it. I mean, I had to install it, and now that I've installed it, okay, let's go to that file again. It's an app image file. Right click and says open with. Okay, see, the app image launcher is there. This time I'm good, so let's click on select that. And okay, this looks good to me. Okay, now integrate, not run, just run once, because I'm not going to use it anymore after this video is done. All right, so on the left you have to select the Manjaro ISO file that you've downloaded. Let me get these windows out of the way. Although I'm on Linux, I'm saying Windows. All right, I mean, okay, these are still Windows. Okay, so flash from file, let me see, you have to select, let's select the file that we have just downloaded, and we have downloaded the file there, and select the target. I have inserted my USB, so I'm going to click on select target, and there you see my generic disk USB there, and all you have to do is click on select, and you have to flash it. I did not flash it because I already had it previously. So once it's done, let's get back over to our MacBook machine. All right, Now insert the MacBook USB on your MacBook and power it on. As soon as you power it on, hold down the Alt key and you will be greeted with a screen which says EFI boot and Macintosh HD. EFI boot is your USB, Macintosh HD is your hard disk. So select EFI boot and we are presented with Manjaro boot screen. All right. Now, just for the sake of it, I wanted to see if Manjaro bootloader could detect Mac bootloader. So to solve that, let's go to detect EFI bootloader and we see there, see Apple recovery. That means Manjaro bootloader, that is the Grub2 bootloader, is able to detect Apple bootloader. Good guys. That means we don't need a third party bootloaders, and as we're going to dual boot, right? So let's go there. Okay, so boot with proprietary drivers, and okay, I should have told you this before. I mean, the screen of this Mac is broken. I mean, not broken, but it's damaged, and all the Mac videos that I have on my channel are made on the same Mac. I mean, the video quality is good because I record with an internal screen loader, but this time we're seeing it from outside. So this is the state of the Mac that I use for all recording my videos, and I have a video where I have put a Mac VM on my Manjaro Linux. So I want to say, okay, so let's get parity and install Manjaro Linux on my MacBook. All right, so now that this has booted, okay, looks good. Okay, we are on the live USB, live CD, not live USB, man. What am I saying? Okay, so this is look good, and let me close this. And you know, it's so great. It just detected my Wi-Fi network. I don't have a Cat5 cable attached. See, Wi-Fi networks. Let me connect to Freedom. That's the name of my home network. Don't hack into my network, please. All right, so it has connected. Just see how great it is. It can detect. I mean, that is why I love Manjaro. I mean, and especially because of the AUR packages. I mean, with AUR I can pretty much do anything. Okay, so from here on, select the language, the keyboard, the location, and the most important step coming up is the partition. You need to pay very close attention to it. You see on the left it says EFI and GPT. Since we have an EFI disk and GPT partitioning screen, GPT partitioning. Okay, so this is the disk Hitachi disk that you saw and GPT. So I'm going to click manual partition and next. Okay, now very closely look at what we have. Okay, FAT32 is the Apple bootloader. This is at my Mac. High Sierra, this is some free space. You don't know why. This is my data that I kept in between. This is the swap I'm going to use. This is unknown, again partitioning space. This is my Linux 94.1 gig. So let's click on edit and format it. File system ext4 looks good. Don't select FAT32. This was a mistake in this recording. I'm going to fix it later on. So I don't know why I selected FAT32. Mount point is going to be root. File system, please select ext4. You will see I'll fix it. Okay, this is the swap. Now I'm going to create swap, and let's create swap. We've just format it to Linux swap or Linux swap. Okay, depending upon whether I'm British or well, whatever, American English, and looks good. That's all we need to do. That's it. Okay, as soon as we click this, it says okay, there's a problem that we have to create a FAT32 partition with the boot flag enabled and the mount point boot EFI. Otherwise our system will not boot. So we have to go back, and once I go back, I'm going to extract space out of my swap partition and to create a 500 MB bootable partition. You see that I have shrunk my shrunk my swap partition from 7.5 to 7.1, and I've just created a 500 MB space where we are going to install the Manjaro Linux bootloader. So I'm going to say edit, and we are going to say format. File system is going to be FAT32. That is why I had selected FAT32 earlier. Okay, so and the mount point is going to be boot EFI, flags are going to be boot. Very critical, otherwise your Linux will not boot. Swap is going to remain the same. Swap is there. Linux swap, just for the sake of it, I'm just going to say format again, Linux swap. That's all. That's what I need to do. And the final thing is the 94.1, the last on the disk, is going to be format. ext4 looks good. Mount point is going to be root. All right. Okay. So that's it, 3 partitions: root, swap, and bootloader. Okay, and very important is bootloader should be FAT32, otherwise you're going to get an error. FAT32, and the mount point has to be boot, and mount point has to be boot EFI, and flag has to be boot. That's it. I have repeated it again, very critical, otherwise you're going to get an error. I mean, this is the voice of experience. Okay. All right, so from here on, it's all next. Just enter your username. I entered my username. Just enter your username and just wait. Fingers crossed. Hopefully the installation will work. It did not work the last time. That's why I had to come back. Okay, so I had to stop recording, come back. Okay, so this is going to take some time, and you can watch it to your heart's content on your machine. You're not going to watch it on my machine. So I'm going to, through the magic of media editing, I'm going to be back when this has completed. All right, 1, 2, 3. This has completed. All done. So select restart now, and let's click on done. So plug out your USB and let's see what our machine boots into. All right, my machine is booting into. Yes. What is going on? I mean, I guess it's Linux or Mac, Linux or Mac, or Linux or Mac, Linux or Mac, or what? It is going to be Linux, guys, because we had created a boot partition, and and it will boot directly into Manjaro Linux. You see there, dev SDA1. I'm going to improve on my camera angle so you guys can see better. Okay, it's going to take some time. The first boot takes some time, I guess. That's why it's so slow. Oh, okay. So I hope you guys can see better now. And still say dev SDA6. That is where what bootloader was. And yes, you see we have Manjaro Linux there. All right. So we have, congratulations guys, we have Manjaro Linux on our MacBook. But as I said, I'm going to dual boot, right? So first I have shown you Linux, and then I'm going to show you Mac on my machine, and it has loaded. Again, it wants the password for, it wants, oh it, okay, it wanted a password for my Wi-Fi, and my Wi-Fi connected properly, no problems at all. Let's go to a browser, and I'm going to show you whether my internet works or not. Manjaro settings manager, addition update, settings manager. Okay, no problem, guys. Let's see. Okay, so Firefox default. Okay, the default browser is now Firefox. So let me go to Reddit, and we'll see whether we are able to browse the internet. Yes. See, it was. I mean, that is why that is why I really like Manjaro, guys. I mean, it just works out of the box. I mean, as someone on stage with Apple products said, used to say, it just works. I mean, yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to switch out. I'm going to restart. And to boot into Linux, boot into Mac, what you need to do, just hold down the Alt key when the chime sounds, and you will be presented with a screen which says this. So on the right is your Linux, on the left is your Macintosh HD. So I'm going to select Macintosh HD, and now I am booting back into Mac, which is High Sierra on my machine, and it's slow, guys. I mean, it's terribly slow. 2011 machine running macOS High Sierra. I mean, it's terribly slow, guys. I mean, what can I say? Okay, so there's my machine, Hikmat Ustad. After this video, I'm going to format it. I'm just going to go back to maybe Lion or something, what, Snow Leopard maybe, just to get my Mac usable. Okay, I just did not do it for the sake of this video. So I'm booting back into my Mac, and I mean, guys, hang on, don't rush off the video as yet, because I'm going to show you, I'm not cheating on you guys. This is the same machine which hosts the Linux and the Mac. How? I'm going to prove it to you by opening up disk manager, and I'm going to show you that the partitions that are created at the start of the video are still there. And yes, we even created an additional partition, which is the Manjaro bootloader partition, at the middle of the video, remember? So see, this is a functional Mac, and let me open up this utility. Okay, so this utility, oh man, okay, I said it was slow, guys. This utility is opening up. It's terribly slow. Yeah, I mean, what to do? Okay. Okay, this is this utility, and as soon as you see on the left there, no label data and no label data is still there, so we can use it as a volume, and no label is there. 500 MB, 525 MB. See guys, that's the Manjaro bootloader. Okay, so I'm going to click on partition, and you guys will see that we still have our partitions there. See, Macintosh HD data. We have no label, which is the bootloader. We have the swap, and this is our Manjaro Linux. So, guys, thank you so much for your time. Take care. Remember me and stay safe, guys. So very important. See you next time.